Hey, good morning, everybody. This is Early Riser checking in. It is Tuesday, September the 12th, and it's about 5:15 in the morning. Yeah, just wanted to hit the next install on our journey northbound as we relive some of my videos. More importantly, and maybe more entertainingly, kind of let you know what was behind the scenes, and then expand on some thoughts that were prevalent along the trail that I didn't get to capitalize on in the moment that I think may help some future through hikers. And that's what this is all about. Really isn't about, I don't know, it isn't about a lot of other things. What I really want are these videos to last, at least for the next couple of years while they're still relevant, and help those preparing for their through hikes. I don't know if I'm going to be able to go all the way up to Maine with these. We'll see if my motivation holds. What I do want to make it is at least through the Smokies with these, because, and I've seen this on a bunch of other through hikers videos, but when you, and Big Bird just released another questions and answers video, and he said the same thing. Like when he made his first plan, he just made it through the Smokies and he had it detailed out. And of course, as we all know, especially if you've been in the military and in combat, your plan doesn't survive first contact. Meaning, as soon as you get on the trail, you can pretty much know that your plan is going to be altered immediately. But that's okay, because thinking through those plans, especially all the way through the Smokies, it gives you more flexibility as you start walking the trail, because you've already done research on what's in towns and how far can you go. And even though those realities are going to change, it still helps you in the long run, I feel anyway. That's just Early Riser's opinion. Okay, so we last stopped at Cold Spring Shelter right here. I tried to blow this up a little bit for, I think it was Marty or somebody saying, hey man, can you blow it up a little bit? So I've got it at 115% right here. Hopefully that's going to help. Let me know if it doesn't. I'll try to blow it up a little bit more. I'm just trying to prevent not being able to see things on the screen. So currently we're at mile marker 125.3 at Cold Spring Shelter. And if y'all remember from last week, I'm really fond of this shelter. I'm fond of its location. I think its tent spots up on the ridge line are some of the best I saw on AT. And I will go do this part of the trail again, and I will tent up on those ridge lines. That's how pretty they were. It was just going to pour this night. You'll see in the video that it did. It thunderstormed. And I was glad I was in the shelter. Another thing you got to consider about your shelter choice is where are you at elevation-wise. And I know this sounds basic, and a lot of times you're not going to have a choice of being up high. You can see the Wyatt Bald shelter, it's at 47.12, and then the Cold Spring shelter is at 49.26. So if cold weather's moving in or you have concerns about being up high, these two options right here really aren't going to help you out. This Burning Town Gap right here, I think if I was really concerned about the cold on this night, that would have been a great place to stop, because it's almost 800 short or 700 short of this. And you got to remember, for each 1,000-foot drop or climb in elevation, you can count on a degree change of Fahrenheit degree change in warmth or cold, about 6 degrees. So if it's cold up top and you descend down, you should be 6 degrees warmer-ish. And that varies. All right, so we use 6 degrees as a planning factor for military skydiving. And that could be a little bit different down at a thicker altitude. So just keep that in mind. For me, it was going to be a warm night, just a rainy night. So it was great to be up here at Cold Spring Shelter. As you can see, once you leave the shelter, you're going to get hit with a little stiff uphill. The trail was really good this day. We got some puds here, just going up and down a little bit, and then you're going to make this big descent down into Tellico Gap. Now to climb out of Tellico Gap, I remember it, though it's spread over, 2 miles, 2.5 miles. I remember it being pretty tough, but again, I like climbing. I like climbing in the mornings especially, and so this one wasn't that big of a deal. And then in your typical fashion of the Southeast, as soon as you get to that top, and by the way, there's a tower up here and some good views, you just go right back down again. So aggravating after a while. When you get to North Carolina, you start walking ridge lines. you appreciate those ridge lines a lot more, trust me. Yep, so then we start our descent all the way down into the Knock. There are some gorgeous, gorgeous views on the way down to the Knock. But what I'd also remember, and I think it's this cliff right here, man, those are your first treacherous down climbs, maybe your first inclinations of how some of the Northeast is going to be. The down south are so out of place that I was not concerned about getting hurt this morning, but everything was wet and some of those down climbs are rough, not rebar or anything, you know, in these rocks in the Southeast to help you get down them. So definitely something to be concerned with. You're not going to move as fast as you think down this downhill because some of those down climbs are just really going to take you a second or two. But the views are unbeatable, almost White Mountain-esque, and you'll really enjoy this. Plus, there's a cheeseburger and tater tots waiting for you down here at the Knock. So just know, sorry. Sorry about that. Don't know how that's going to look on the screen. What a pain in my butt. Anyway, so when you get down to the Knock, obviously there's going to be some resupply options. They have an outdoor center. I'm sorry, a gear place. I don't know why it's eluding me right now. Maybe because it's 5 in the morning. The words, like use your words, early riser. But you can see that you're descending down into 1,732 feet. So that is a ginormous down climb into the Knock. Feels like you're basically climbing back down to sea level almost. When you get down here, there are lodging accommodations you can use. When I got there, they were not open. I was there too early. But I know about 1 March or a little bit later, man, all the options start opening up. The restaurant was open and the outdoor gear shop was open as well. And I walked in there. It's pretty well outfitted, but they do have some hiker food in there. So just a small resupply option if you need it. But man, I just left Franklin the day before, so I was really still heavy with food. But here's what you got to consider. Your climb out of the Knock is one of the most legendary climbs, at least in the Southeast. And it is long and it is unforgiving, and you're going back up to 5,000 feet again, or just under this day for me. So just keep that in mind. Decide if you want to stop and regain yourself at the Knock for a night and then start it, or do like me and just keep going and just make a monumental day out of it. My plan was to get to Sassafras Gap shelter, and as you can see, went down to 1731 and climbed 3,000 feet. Now that's over some miles, and I get it, and there's plenty of water sources this day. A lot of good views once you start getting up into the higher sections and elevations. But the woods this day, man, they stick out in my mind. I don't know why. It was a gorgeous day and a gorgeous walk. Maybe one of my more enjoyable on the trail. Really loved this day. But by the time I got to the Sassafras Gap shelter, I was freaking beat. Now, this is a huge shelter. You can see it holds 14, and it was full that night. College kids were out there that night. A couple who was hiking down to the Knock was there that night. Really nice people. And then a high extrovert ex-Marine, our former Marine, who I couldn't wait to get in my tent and get away from. But God bless him, man. He was having fun, so good on him. So you can see, climbed up to 4710 and then back down almost 300 feet to the shelter, and then you're going to climb right back up to Chiabald the next day. All right, y'all, so we're going to stop the video. I made it here. There was good water at this shelter, a nice privy, not really good campsites, maybe 1 or 2 good tent spots there, but this shelter is huge and probably a pretty good night's sleep in there. Had it not been so busy, I would have stayed there, because it got extremely cold. This is my first night that it did down in the low 20s, and I paid for it, and I'll tell you about that in the video. All right, y'all, here we are, day 10 video. Yeah. If many of y'all are like me, when you start following a thru hiker and you have their videos, first you start getting it.
Thank God I stayed in the shelter last night.
The thunderstorm and the rain shower that hit while I was at Cold Springs. Now, I was sharing this shelter with a person. So I didn't mention him last week, and somebody I said I was going to, and I didn't. But this guy walked up right about dark, and he was from North Carolina. and he was going to attempt a through hike. He was more of your hippie-ish type, which I enjoyed. He's a very nice guy, and I enjoyed our evening there talking. Definitely, he was a pot smoker, but he asked me, "Hey, man, are you 420 friendly or whatever?" I was like, "Man, you can do whatever you want, dude. It's your trail too. I don't care." Um, I ain't always been in the military. I just always use that. I don't even know what that means, but I always say that to people. Anyway, yeah, man. So we sat there and had a good evening and got some good sleep. And I was trying to be quiet here this morning, but the rain coming off the shelter was so loud. I wasn't too concerned with him being able to, or him staying awake by me moving around. I never saw this guy again after this either. So I don't know if he
It's
made it.
thunderstorming and pouring outside. Day 10. That's what it's all about right there. So much gratitude for being here. This trail's amazing. Coming all too familiar with me walking and thinking and then turn on the camera. The comments have been great. I just want to, for nobody who's ever been out trying to vlog while you're walking 8 hours, 17 to 20 miles a day. It's just like a reality show, I guess, and I hate to say that, man, because I don't want it to be like that, but you gotta understand what you're watching. It feels like I'm doing it for the audience, but I'm really turning on the camera and just giving some of my raw thoughts at the moment and in the context. And that could change. One minute I could walk by a shelter that's full and just kind of be pissed, and then the next shelter I walk by, there's 3 or 4 people there, and it's the best thing that happened to me all day. So don't take offense. These are my thoughts, and I know you have your thoughts, and I enjoy the comments, and I always will, and I encourage everybody to be open and forthright. But just try to put yourself in my context, and this I think these videos will be more enjoyable for you, because I tell you, it's I don't want to call it an emotional roller coaster yet, but throughout the day you go through several roller coasters, whether it's from a lack of electrolytes, whether it's from getting your ass kicked going up a hill for 2 miles like last night. Man, you have emotions that are going to come out.
All right, so you can see me going through my evolutionary, I'll get the words out today, my evolutionary process. Never vlogged before, never really had a YouTube channel before, and this will help people who are planning on vlogging, but some of these tips will help people who don't care anything about vlogging but are still dealing with that emotional roller coaster as you start your hike. The comments, a lot of people tell you, hey man, when you start getting a pretty popular channel, if you will, and you can argue my channel really wasn't that popular if you compare it to other channels, but yeah, you shouldn't read the comments, but man, that's not what I was out there for. I wanted to take people along with me on this journey because it was important to me, and I will tell you, it ended up launching me towards Katahdin. It did, and all of you helped me do that. But what I quickly realized is, and veteran YouTubers knew this all along, is that people fail to put themselves in your context when they make comments. And this bugged me at first, and probably bugged me arguably throughout a little bit. But man, it's just reality, and it's part of it. People forget as they're sitting in their comfortable houses, drinking their coffee, and getting to go to the bathroom that's 3 feet away from them, and turn on the water faucet that, that's right inside the kitchen or the bathroom, that people are out there putting it on the line and going through this emotional roller coaster every day. So if you can, before you comment, just think about, man, what if that was me out there? There's some beautiful views, by the way, going starting to descend down into the knock. What if that was me out there, and what would I want to hear from people, whether it's critiquing or whether it's positive? What would help me the most? Just gorgeous views. My God, I've got to get back out of the trail, y'all. Oh, that is gorgeous. Yeah, so what's going to help that hiker the most? So if you can, for all of you who likes to watch through hikers and who might be vlogging on your own one day, It's just important to realize the context out on the trail is unique, and until you experience it on a through hike where you're out there for weeks on end, you probably won't understand it as much. So just know, man, like little snide comments, you're always going to have your trolls, but just keep your comments helpful in their context, because they are going through an emotional roller coaster about 3 or 4 times a day as their body adjusts to the trail. And as the trail changes the conditions, these uphills and downhills this day right here on day 10 were brutal. So by the time I got to my tent, I said, hey man, I still feel pretty good. Man, I was tuckered out and had been through, when I got to the shelter and saw those people there and that high extrovert ex-Marine, I was like, oh my God, this is the last thing I wanted today, but you just got to deal with it. So anyway, rambling, get back to the video.
I'm feeling pretty good. Knees are a little bit sore. Gonna go down here and take a load off. Maybe get something to eat, or maybe just find a bench and eat my food. Doesn't really matter. Prep the body for the, I'm gonna roll my legs out too. Prep the body for the uphills. I know they're gonna be brutal. I just had I was good and had a salad for lunch, and washed that down with a cheeseburger and some tater tots. They had me at tater tots. All right, starting to climb the pain, heading for there by Monday at lunch is where I want to be, so shouldn't be too hard. I hope everybody's having a great day, man. The NOC is absolutely gorgeous. They're having races, kayak races down the river. Just gorgeous. Couldn't ask for anything better. A more beautiful day.
Okay, so you saw Fontana Dam's a little over 27 miles from the knock, and this is middle of the day on my second day after leaving Sassafras Gap, and I move pretty fast. For those of you who don't move as fast, you might need to buy some items down here at the knock, or you might want to send yourself a package to the knock, depending on how long it's going to take you to do those just under 30 miles to Fontana, knowing that this first 8 miles is straight up the side of cliffs almost. I mean, it's a steep climb. I don't want to be over dramatic about it, but just think through your resupply options there. And when you get to Fontana, you have to have something waiting on you, or try to catch a hitch into town, or you're going to buy really expensive hiker oriented food down at the gas station or whatnot. So or at the general store up at Fontana Lodge. So keep that in mind when you leave the knock, man. That's your last opportunity, really, till you might get to Gatlinburg if you want to come out of the Smokies and resupply, which I did not. So I wanted to make it all the way through the Smokies without having to come out.
So you'll take a step up with your left leg, and then your right leg's kind of on flat ground, and you do the next step with your left leg. If I had my guess, through the last 100 and something rigorous miles, he probably favors his left leg as he's climbing those, as I do as well.
Okay, so we're talking about the Norseman. If you remember from the last video, he was the guy who was carrying his foam roller with him because he was having leg issues. And what I'm saying here, and that I started noticing in myself as I'm critiquing my own hiking style, and you should all do this, like this shouldn't be a mindless wandering when you're out there, man. You should be critiquing how you're walking. I'll tell you, Disciple does a really good job at it, as deciphering how he's walking. And trying to correct it and walk more correctly. But as you're climbing these hills or going down the declines, you got to realize, hey, what am I doing with my legs? Do I favor my left or right leg as I'm climbing? And I did. I favored my left leg, and I think the Norseman probably did too, and why he started having problems. I prefer my left leg to be the one that I climb with, that I put up first on the steeper climbs. It's obvious what's going to happen, though. You're going to start building imbalances in your leg muscles, and that leg is going to become tighter, and you're going to have more problems. Like as he did, it was, I think, his left leg anyway. So I want you to think through that. If you go out on practice hikes, if you're a section hiker, whatever you're doing, if you start making climbs and you're having to walk up steps, or steps that they made out of rocks or things like that, which leg are you more comfortable with leading? And then you have to just mentally focus on your steps and make yourself become more balanced. And it's only through that balance that you're going to get into camp at night and not have, you know, or start building those painful imbalances in one leg or the other. And once you start having muscles tighten up, it's going to start pulling on that patella tendon, and you're going to start having knee problems really quick. So keep that in mind. And especially on the down climbs, I like to lead with my left foot going down too. So I had to constantly focus on spreading that load against both legs. And eventually, once you do it enough, it becomes normal. And you don't have to focus on it anymore. But you got to figure it out early on in your hike so you don't have problems like the Norseman did.
Coming behind me. Do what makes sense for you. I feel really good actually right now. Can't wait to get up here and get some dinner. Still got about 1.5 miles to go though. Most of the uphill's almost over, I think. See y'all in camp. Wrap up day 10. I made it to the shelter. Can't even remember the name of it right now, and it's sitting right outside of it.
Sassafras Gap.
There was a section hiking couple here and another single guy here he's northbound, and the section hikers are heading southbound to the NOC. And then we had 9 other college kids come to the shelter, and it's a big shelter. It holds 14, so it was good to see all them. They got rained on last night and were freezing, and they're trying to draw their sleeping bags out right now. And I'm telling you what, it's cold, and it's going to get really cold tonight. It's February, it ought to be cold, so that's okay. I'm just hoping their bags get dry enough to where they stay warm in the shelter. Today's a good one. It was long. Started walking at 6:30. Walked in the rain for a little while. Did 12 down to the NOC. Got down there. I can't even remember what I said. Y'all know better than me. Ate lunch 11:30ish, I think. If any other reason or no other reason that you come walk the AT is that you just get to eat what you want, as much of it as you want, and you ain't gonna gain a pound. In fact, you're gonna keep losing weight. I don't think I've lost much weight, but it's coming. I eat.
All right, several things here. So whether I was in denial or I just didn't understand the calorie expenditure every day. Like I started losing weight before this. I just hadn't weighed myself. And switching over to a hiker diet takes people longer than others. Like me, I can eat a lot anyway, but I still wasn't eating enough calories to get me through the hikes that I was doing these days. And I hear, and I saw in Big Bird's questions and answers, this video that he just did, somebody asked, when you start out, man, sometimes you don't have hunger. It might have been in Darwin's video, but regardless, if your body is not used to the rigors you're going to put on it, it's going to start rebelling against you, and you're not going to feel hungry at all most times. So the point there is, you got to come out to the trail physically prepared. Are you going to grow still? Yes, you're still going to have soreness and everything else. But you don't want to come out and just totally shock your body, because then it's not going to want you to put calories in it. It's going to make itself feel nauseous, and you're going to have a tough time starting out. So come out prepared. I talk about that all the time. Another strategy session here. Let me pause this real quick. So another strategy session that I should have deployed here or employed here, looking back, is it was going to get really cold up at altitude this night. If I would have stayed at the knock, I wouldn't have had the problems the next morning I had with frozen water bags and stuff. So it wouldn't have changed my mind. I wanted to be, I'm a hard dude, I think, in my mind anyway. So I was going to climb that mountain no matter what. But I would just offer a good strategy for people this day would have been to stay down in the knock at that 1,700 foot elevation, or maybe stealth camp somewhere around 2,000, 3,000 feet, and not climb all the way back up to almost 5,000. Where it's going to be, the cold is going to hit you, and it's going to be extreme, and it was really windy up there at elevation. So strategy-wise, just look at the weather and don't push yourself too hard. I wish I probably would have done that. When I woke up the next morning, I'm carrying a 4-pound block of ice because I didn't prepare properly the night before. We'll cover that next week.
This is really fun, and it's really fun having y'all a part of this. And I don't just say that, man. Like, this is truly the most enjoyable thing I've done in a long time. I want to say hey to my wife and my son and my 2 dogs. My son was in a play. been practicing since the start of the new year, and they just executed it Friday night and then again today. And my wife said he did fabulous. So well done, boy. I love you and I miss you. Same to you, babe. Thanks for holding down the fort. And I will see everybody on this channel tomorrow as we head towards Fontana Down. I'm going to hold just short, and the plan is to get in there on Monday morning, go check into the hotel, get my resupply boxes, and get ready for the Smokies first thing Tuesday morning. I'm excited about the Smokies, y'all. All right, hope you are too. Out.
All right, y'all, we'll go ahead and wrap up this week. I'll go ahead and turn the camera around.
All right, y'all, I won't make this long. Yeah, so some takeaways today. Things that you don't hear people talking about that I think are really important is, and maybe the most important one, figure out how you're hiking early on, and then figure out what you want to do, the more correct way to hike. See if you're meeting those goals for yourself of, man, am I landing on my feet right? Am I heel striking every step? If I've got certain kind of shoes on with a zero drop, how do I want to land on the bottom of my foot? And Disciple has been going through a lot of that where he was landing too far. He's a toe walker. And man, if you're a toe walker going up hills, you're going to pay for it, whether in shin splints or your calves are going to be tight or your Achilles tendon is going to start pulling more than it should. And he was trying to get to where he could land more flat-footed. And that's really the goal, is you want to land flat-footed, sometimes a little bit of hill to flat, but really flat-footed. And that comes into play as you're climbing those mountains like we talked about, and you're leaning towards one, or you prefer, and it's all tacitly in your mind, you don't even know what's going on, but you start leading with your left foot or your right foot more as you're starting to climb those rocks. And eventually, because you're going to climb so much on this trail, you're going to build imbalances, and those muscles are going to start tightening up, and you're going to start pulling on your patella tendon, or you're going to get shin splints or something else. So figuring that out early on as you're leaving Amicalola Falls or Springer Mountain, start really deciphering how you're taking steps and try to build balance into your walking profile. And that's going to save you from injuries later on. And I keep preaching about being prepared, and again, this episode is no different. If you leave Springer Mountain and you are not physically prepared, when you start climbing mountains, you're not going to have the mental wherewithal to understand how you're stepping up that mountain. You're just trying to survive. Your body's going to start rejecting itself. It's not going to like what you're doing. It's not going to want to eat. It's not going to want to drink. It's not going to want to do all the things that you need to do to make it survive in that environment. And the last thing it's not going to be able to do is decipher little things like, hey, which foot am I leading with as I'm climbing this mountain? It ain't going to give two dams about that. So the better you are prepared physically, when you get on the trail, the more mentally acute you can stay as you're walking the trail, and help yourself with these minor things like, what foot am I leading more going up on a steep mountain, and how can I correct that and build balance in my steps. Again, if you get to the top of Blood Mountain and you're dying, you're not going to think about things going back down Blood Mountain. So just keep that in mind. These tips can really save a through hike. I really believe that. And then the recovery piece at night, even if you do have imbalances, if you'll do some rolling out and get those muscles massaged and get some blood moving through those knots, it can save your through hike as well. All right, y'all, I got to get ready for work. The remnants of the hurricane's over us right now, so we got some rain and some wind, but nothing too bad. And I hope everybody's doing okay. I want to keep these things kind of bland and not current event focused, but I'd be remiss not to say, man, I'm thinking about everybody in Texas. I'm thinking about everybody in Florida, and I hope everybody's doing okay. All right, y'all, deuces.